So, you know that specific psychological reflex that just sort of kicks in when you're scrolling online and you see a headline in all caps promising this massive celebrity gossip?
Oh, absolutely. We are culturally conditioned for it at this point.
Right. It's like you expect a certain type of dopamine hit, kind of like staring at an old school tabloid magazine in the grocery store checkout aisle.
Yeah, you see a video title that says, like, Taylor Swift tells Kylie her new name is Taylor Kelce, and your brain just immediately prepares for the spectacle of it all.
Exactly. You expect the video to just point right at the screen and deliver this scandalous, unvarnished drama.
It's a deeply ingrained transactional promise, really. I mean, the creator dangles the bait of a megastar's private life, and you click it, fully expecting them to peel back the curtain.
Which is how the internet works.
Right. The whole modern content ecosystem is held almost entirely on that exact exchange.
But, and this is why we're doing this today, the source material we are deep diving into takes that expectation and just completely shatters it.
It really does. It's fascinating.
We are looking at a YouTube transcript from a channel called Kelce Swift Hub. And it is, without a doubt, the ultimate bait and switch. I mean, you click for the global pop star tea, and what you actually get has absolutely zero mentions of Taylor Swift.
Not a single one.
None. Instead, you are handed this delightfully grounded, highly relatable slice-of-life Q&A with Kylie Kelce. And it's all about, the logistics of parenting, the reality of marital negotiation, and of all things, adopting rescue dogs.
Which is honestly what makes it such a fantastic case study. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this transcript to explore the actual reality of modern, high-profile family dynamics.
Yeah, let's get into it.
We are going to examine how this specific family navigates the frankly bizarre business of podcasting, look at the underlying mechanics of how they negotiate a household, and ultimately analyze how they took this massive, captive pop culture audience and redirect that attention to generate tangible, real-world good.
And the disconnect right out of the gate in this transcript is just incredible to read. I mean, you have this family currently occupying the absolute dead center of the American pop culture universe. The spotlight is blinding.
Blinding isn't the right word for it, yeah.
And yet, when the speaker is asked what her three young kids, Wyatt, Ellie, and Benny, actually think she does for a living, the answer is just wonderfully anticlimactic.
It really is.
The kids do not possess the conceptual framework to even understand what a podcast is.
Well, and there is a brilliant boundary being enforced here between the public commodity of their fame and the private reality of their household.
Right.
The speaker actually notes that her daughter, Bennett, or Benny, asked her that very day, "Are you going to do podcasts?" And when she confirmed she was doing it from the house, Benny's only processing of that information was just, "Okay, you'll be back soon."
You'll be back soon. That is the absolute ceiling of her interest in the matter.
Totally unbothered.
Exactly. I mean, they know the vocabulary word podcast, they know their mom coaches, and they know their dad. Jason talks about football on the television and makes a podcast with Uncle Trav. But beyond those basic facts, the operational understanding is just mom and dad are going to work.
Right, and look at the underlying utility of that approach. Despite this intense, almost unprecedented level of modern fame, the parents are utilizing pragmatic, generalized blanket statements.
Yeah, we are going to work.
Exactly. By refusing to explain the true scale of their public platform, they are actively protecting the children's innocence. They are maintaining a very traditional, standard family hierarchy where the parents aren't these massive celebrities. They are just the authority figures who provide and hopefully come back soon.
I was trying to visualize how this works mechanically, and I think it's essentially like a pressure hull on a submarine.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Because outside the family home, you have this crushing million-pound oceanic pressure of global fame, paparazzi, and internet culture. But because the parents meticulously maintain the integrity of that hull, the kids inside are just sitting in the cabin, completely unaware of the pressure, just playing with their toys at standard atmospheric levels.
That is a highly accurate way to frame it, because maintaining that pressure hull requires constant active work.
Yeah, it does.
And sometimes it actually requires weaponizing the kid's own lack of understanding.
Oh my gosh, yes. The Jason Kelce golf anecdote.
Just so good.
This is where the transcript gets genuinely hilarious. The speaker tells this story about how her husband, Jason, essentially cracked the toddler code. He just wanted to sit down and watch golf on TV.
A very normal dad desire.
Right. And his daughter Wyatt comes up and basically interrogates him, asking, "Is this for work? Because if it's for work, I'll let you watch it."
And he doesn't even hesitate.
No. Jason looks his kid dead in the eye and flat out lies. He just says, yes, it is for work. And immediately, Wyatt drops the investigation and lets him watch golf entirely uninterrupted.
It is a stunning display of exploiting a loophole in toddler logic. But notice what the speaker says about it. She says she respects the hustle and that he should exploit that excuse as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, she was fully supportive of the lie.
Because this isn't just a funny parenting fail,
Yeah.
It's a literal survival tactic in a house with 3 young children.
It is radical normalcy. And I think it stands in such stark contrast to the current landscape of family vloggers and curated internet families, where children are so often positioned as key components of the brand itself.
Right, where the kids are the content.
Exactly. But here, the speaker expresses a very real, very palpable dread of the internet's permanence. She explicitly says she hopes none of her kids ever get into the family business of podcasting.
She even goes as far as hoping they treat her entire podcasting era like a fever dream. Like she wants them to look back and think, Mom podcast. No, that didn't happen.
Because she knows the digital footprint is forever. I mean, she actually says yikes when contemplating the fact that these clips will live on the internet and her kids will be able to look it all up one day.
She is acutely aware of how abnormal her public life is, yeah.
And she is actively trying to shield the baseline reality of her family from it.
Which requires a highly strategic approach to household management. You really can't maintain that kind of external boundary if the internal dynamics of the marriage are chaotic.
Right, the inside has to be solid.
Exactly. And the pragmatic, slightly humorous approach she uses to manage the kids' expectations, well, it bleeds directly into how she navigates her relationship with her husband.
Let's get into the mechanics of that marital negotiation, actually, because the transcript moves into a Q&A segment that reveals a lot about how this household truly functions.
It's a fascinating pivot.
A fan writes in with a very heavy, high-stakes question. She asks, I want 3 kids, but my husband wants to stay with 2. What would you say to convince him?
And in modern internet culture, the default response to this kind of question is usually some form of aggressive empowerment.
Oh, totally. Like, tell him you're the boss, or it's your body, your choice.
Exactly. But her advice takes a completely different, highly analytical route.
She starts with the undeniable reality. She says, it takes 2 to tango. You have to get the partner on board. But then, instead of giving the fan ammunition to just win the argument, she actively validates the husband's hypothetical fears. Mm-hmm. She basically plays defense attorney for the opposing side.
She does. She points out the phenomenon of pregnancy amnesia. The partner who physically carries the child often forgets the brutal, sleep-deprived reality of the newborn phase because biology sort of tricks you into doing it again.
Biology's sneaky like that.
It really is. But the partner watching it happen, however, rarely forgets. And then she lists incredibly grounded logistical hurdles.
Yes, she brings up car seats. I loved this. She says a husband might hesitate because a 3rd kid usually means you literally have to buy an entirely new vehicle just to fit the car seats across the back row.
It's a huge expense.
Huge. Or she notes that if a couple always planned for 2 kids, suddenly flipping the script on your entire life trajectory is terrifying.
What she is modeling here is radical empathy. She is taking a step back from the raw emotional desire for a 3rd child and analyzing the structural reality of the partnership.
Yeah.
She emphasizes that every single child she and her husband have had, and they have 4 now, was built on a foundation of mutual understanding. You just cannot bulldoze a partner into a major life commitment and expect that pressure hull of the family to hold.
But then, just when you think you were listening to a profound, master-level couples therapy session, she completely undercuts the tension with a joke.
Of course she does.
She tells the fan, I think you should have a lengthy discussion about why his reasons are shit, and then I think you should go for the 3rd kid.
And she clarifies immediately that she is kidding, right? But the inclusion of the joke is the actual mechanism at play here. She balances taking the structural work of marriage incredibly seriously with not taking themselves too seriously.
And that philosophy of gamifying the heavy lifting extends straight down to the mundane daily chores, because the breakdown of domestic labor in this transcript is astonishingly specific.
Oh, the chore aesthetics. A fan asks what the sexiest chore is for a guy to do, assuming it might be laundry, and the speaker delivers a full anatomical and psychological breakdown of why certain chores hold different aesthetic values.
It's hilarious. She claims taking out the trash is the hottest. Psychologically, it's selfless because it's literal trash. Yuck.
Words, yeah.
Right? But aesthetically, when her husband lifts the heavy bag out of the can, it functions as a full bicep curl. Then she moves to the dishes. Doing the dishes is great because her husband is exceptionally tall, so when he has to bend over the sink, it emphasizes the broadness of his shoulders.
It's very analytical.
Vacuuming. You get the visual benefit of watching them walk across the room. Laundry. The heavy baskets mean we are back to the bicep curls.
But the strategy has a critical failsafe built into it.
The dish ban. This was my favorite part. After praising the shoulder aesthetic of him washing dishes, she reveals he is actually strictly banned from doing them.
Banned from the sink.
Completely. The first reason is a classic marital friction point. She just fundamentally doesn't like the way he washes them.
We've all been there.
Exactly. But the second reason is pure self-preservation. She says seeing his shoulders while he does the dishes might actively make her want a fifth kid. And she emphatically states on the record, 4 is cool, we're good on 4 right now.
So to prevent the collapse of their current logistical reality and avoid a 5th pregnancy, the man is barred from the kitchen sink.
It's brilliant.
It's humorous, but it leads to the core piece of advice she gives the listener, which is a bit more controversial when you really look at it.
Right. She advises women to look at their husbands and tell them that all chores are hot. She says, it's really hot. Picking up the dog shit in the backyard.
Yep.
Just tell them it's hot so they go out and scoop it.
Yeah.
And wait, let me push back on this for a second, because we need to look at the actual mechanics of what she is suggesting here.
Okay, let's unpack it.
If we zoom out and reverse the genders, or just look at this objectively, actively tricking your partner by sexualizing a gross, unrewarding chore just to get them to do it, is that actually genius-level domestic management, or is it just toxic manipulation masked as a funny life hack?
I see it differently, actually. I don't think it's manipulation because there is no actual deception taking place.
You don't think so?
No, because when she tells her husband that scooping dog waste is attractive, he knows she is joking. She knows she is joking. What they are actually doing is engaging in a consensual shared delusion to soften the drudgery of household maintenance.
A shared delusion, okay?
Yeah, behavioral economics tells us that humans need incentives to perform unrewarding tasks. By reframing a miserable chore as an inside joke about attractiveness, she isn't manipulating him, she is gamifying the mundane. Marriages survive the endless grind of domestic life by finding ways to laugh at the absurdity of it together.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a shared language of coping.
Exactly.
And that ecosystem they've built doesn't just apply to the parents, right? It deeply impacts the kids growing up inside it, especially when you introduce extended family into the pressure hull. Because we also have to talk about Uncle Trav.
Yes. The transcript offers a really illuminating window into how children develop completely distinct autonomous identities, even when they are raised in the exact same environment and exposed to the same external stimuli.
The dynamic with Uncle Trav is endlessly endearing. I mean, the speaker describes his arrival as triggering a full-court press.
A great sports metaphor.
Right. Wyatt, Ellie, and Benny just descend on him because they know, historically, he is a willing participant who entirely lacks the ability to say no to them. But what stands out is how this massive adult adapts to their entirely different play styles.
The older girls gravitate toward what the speaker calls all-in play. This is the throwing, the launching, the intense physical roughhousing that they usually do with their dad and their uncle.
But then you have Uncle Trav seamlessly pivoting from launching toddlers into the air to getting down on the floor to play a quiet, meticulous game of Barbies. And we really have to pause and look at the cultural juxtaposition here.
It's striking.
It is. The archetype of the elite professional football player is hyper-masculine. Their literal job description is physical domination and controlled violence on a gridiron.
Yeah.
And yet, behind closed doors, this larger-than-life gladiator is sitting cross-legged on the carpet holding a plastic Barbie doll simply because his nieces handed it to him.
It completely dismantles the one-dimensional caricature we often force athletes into. We expect them to carry that aggressive, energetic persona everywhere.
Right, all the time.
But what this detail reveals is a family ecosystem built on profound emotional security. The adults are actively suppressing their own egos and public personas to adapt to the nuanced needs of the children, rather than forcing the children to adapt to the adults.
And the kids demand totally different things. You have Bennett, who the speaker describes as a lady who has pearls.
I love that description.
It's amazing. Bennett simply cannot be bothered with the rough, all-in play. She demands a completely different kind of interaction.
A toddler demanding pearl-clutching respect in a house full of professional athletes is just an incredible image.
It really is. And then you have the ultimate exception to the Uncle Trav rule, which is Finn.
Right.
Finn wants absolutely nothing to do with anyone except mom and occasionally dad. The speaker notes that Uncle Trav just doesn't have Finn wrapped around his finger because Finn is fundamentally a mom's child.
What you are observing there is a fierce respect for child autonomy. They are not forcing Finn to perform affection for the famous uncle just because he's in the room.
No, not at all.
And they aren't forcing Bennett to drop her pearls and play rough. They are meeting each child exactly where their developmental and emotional boundaries are at that moment.
That kind of empathy and emotional intelligence is clearly the foundation of their private life. But what fascinated me most about this transcript is how they take that internal empathy and weaponize it externally.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting.
They actively redirect the massive captive attention of their pop culture audience outward to solve real-world problems.
The tonal shift in the latter half of the video is abrupt, but it's highly calculated. We move from deeply personal anecdotes about marriage and sibling dynamics straight into leveraging the platform for animal rescue.
She transitions into an Adoptable Animals of the Week segment, which is officially sponsored by Allstate. She mentions it actually used to be Adoptable Animals of the Month, but she admits she simply lacked the patience to wait 30 days to feature more creatures.
Which is very relatable. And she credits a producer named Queen Emma for forcing her to practice self-control so she doesn't just adopt every single animal they feature on the show.
Because it's tempting.
Very. She acknowledges that it's a statistical anomaly that she has let them all leave the studio so far, and she fully expects that streak of self-restraint to break eventually.
But the success rate of this segment is staggering. I mean, she runs down the updates, and all 4 animals from the previous week's broadcast got adopted. Snoopy found a family that drove all the way from Jersey City to get him.
Wow.
A bunny named Breeze, and a pet named Salmon Noodles, which, by the way, is an elite tier name, all found their forever homes. And then she brings out Rusty.
Oh, Rusty. Rusty is a masterclass in narrative framing. He is an 8-year-old rust-colored miniature poodle, and he was rescued by the law enforcement division of the PSPCA, the Pennsylvania Society, for the prevention of cruelty to animals.
He arrived at the shelter with an orbital ulcer and had to have his eye removed just a week prior to the broadcast. So the speaker describes him as living in a constant state of wink.
Which is such a brilliant, empathetic way to reframe a severe physical trauma into a charming, endearing trait for a potential adopter.
It totally changes how you see him. She builds a highly specific pitch around him, too. She notes he's the perfect fun size. He requires a house with only medium activity levels, and he is good with cats and other dogs. But the shelter noted he is unsure about kids.
And this is where she executes a rhetorical pivot that is just incredibly effective.
Yes.
She goes from earnestly discussing the heavy logistics of having a third child at the top of the transcript to holding this one-eyed rescue poodle and looking into the camera to jokingly suggest to her audience, maybe just get rid of the kids.
I laughed out loud when I read that.
It is a phenomenal use of dark humor.
To suggest abandoning your human children to accommodate a poodle with an orbital ulcer is so unexpectedly jarring that it forces you to pay attention. It keeps the audience hooked on a charity segment that, frankly, a lot of people would normally just skip right through.
And what we are analyzing here is the advanced application of parasocial leverage.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, we normally see parasocial relationships, that feeling of one-sided intimacy an audience develops with a public figure. We see that cashed in for profit. Creators use that equity to sell you lifestyle brands, energy drinks, or makeup.
Right. Use code whatever for 20% off.
Exactly. But here, she is taking all the goodwill and relatability she built during the stories about her husband and her kids, and she is cashing it in to clear out local dog shelters.
She even utilizes a bit of playful peer pressure, which I thought was great. She shouts out the real ones in her audience for making sure no animal was left hanging at the shelter after she essentially called them out the week before.
She is mobilizing a fan base. She transforms passive content consumers, people who clicked a link hoping to hear gossip about Taylor Swift or professional football, into an active, life-saving community engine.
It's amazing.
She looks down at Rusty, notes that he hasn't moved the entire time she's been petting him, calls him a sweet boy, and suggests he might be a pirate. She is entirely confident they will find him a home because she has systematically trained her audience to convert their attention into action.
That is the true mechanics of influence. It's not the flashy headlines or the tabloid drama. It's the ability to direct millions of eyeballs toward an 8-year-old dog in a constant state of wink who just needs a quiet living room to sleep in.
Which forces us to reevaluate what actually holds value in our digital ecosystem.
Exactly. Let's connect all these dots for a second. We started this deep dive looking at a piece of content wrapped in the most sensational, algorithm-friendly clickbait title imaginable. Taylor Swift tells Kylie her new name is Taylor Kelce. It was the ultimate bait.
But the switch revealed a highly functional, deeply authentic look at a family just trying to maintain their pressure hull.
We uncovered the pragmatic strategy of a dad lying to a toddler just to watch a round of golf. We explored the behavioral economics of using bicep curls to incentivize taking out the trash. We saw the cultural subversion of a giant football player gently playing Barbies with a little girl wearing pearls. And we met Rusty, the pirate poodle who demands a child-free home.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over regarding your own media consumption.
Yeah.
The YouTube channel utilized a massive manufactured celebrity headline to draw you in. That was the necessary hook for the algorithm. But the actual content that kept the audience watching, the content that fostered enough deep loyalty to get shelter dogs adopted across state lines, was fiercely, unapologetically normal.
It's just the daily, unglamorous grind of car seats and dirty dishes.
And in an era entirely dominated by manufactured drama, outrage algorithms, and perfectly curated artificial lives, this raises a provocative question. Is radical normalcy, the messy, humorous struggles of negotiating a marriage, respecting unique kids, and trying to do a little bit of good in your local community, is that actually the ultimate premium content?
Really makes you evaluate your own scrolling habits, doesn't it? The next time you find yourself clicking on a loud, scandalous headline promising the ultimate celebrity tea, take a second to look at what happens after the click.
Pay attention to it.
Think about what is actually keeping you in the room. Are you there for the pristine, engineered spectacle of fame? Or are you sticking around because, in the murky, overwhelming waters of the internet, you just found someone who finally admits that scooping the dog poop is the hardest part of the day?
It's definitely worth considering the next time you log on.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.